What if I told you that the key to peace isn't found in having more, knowing more, or fixing everything, but in learning to appreciate what's already in front of you, even when life feels like it's falling apart? Life has a way of presenting challenges that feel insurmountable. When you're standing in the middle of a storm, gratitude can feel like the last thing you want to reach for. Pain has a way of narrowing your vision, making you feel like the walls are closing in. The setbacks, the disappointments, the unexpected losses, they all pile up, and the idea of being thankful seems almost absurd. But that's where the power of perspective comes in. Gratitude isn't about pretending that everything is perfect or forcing yourself to be happy when you're struggling. It's about shifting the way you see what's in front of you. It's about finding meaning in the middle of the mess. When life is hard, the natural instinct is to ask, "Why is this happening to me?" But what if you shifted that question slightly? What if instead of asking why, you asked, "What can this teach me?" That small change in language rewires your mind from victimhood to empowerment. Life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. It's easy to be grateful when things are going well, but the true test of strength is finding gratitude when the ground beneath you feels shaky. That's when gratitude becomes a choice. And it's a choice that has the power to completely alter your experience. Think about the hardest moments you've faced in your life. The ones that tested you, broke you down, and left you wondering if you'd ever recover. Now think about who you became because of those moments. Maybe you developed strength you didn't know you had. Maybe you discovered a deeper sense of empathy. Maybe you became more grounded, more humble, more aware of what really matters. Those lessons wouldn't have surfaced if life had been smooth and easy. The struggle shaped you. And while you may not have been grateful for the pain itself, you can be grateful for what it revealed in you. That's the shift. Gratitude isn't about denying the hard parts of life. It's about seeing the value that emerges through them. There's a reason why some of the most grounded, grateful people you'll ever meet are the ones who have endured unimaginable pain. Loss has a way of stripping away the noise and showing you what's real. When you lose someone you love, you suddenly realize how precious every moment truly is. When you hit rock bottom financially, you begin to appreciate the little things: having a meal on the table, a roof over your head, a friend who shows up when you need them. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it gives it purpose. It helps you focus on what remains instead of what's missing. It turns your attention to what you can control instead of what's been taken from you. In difficult moments, the mind tends to spiral toward negativity. It clings to the unfairness of it all, the what-ifs and the if-onlys. But gratitude interrupts that cycle. It's a mental reset button. When you stop and consciously identify even one small thing you're grateful for, you reclaim your power. Suddenly, you're no longer trapped in the chaos, you're standing above it, observing it, grounded in the things that cannot be taken from you. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. But the more you lean into gratitude, the more it becomes a reflex. Even in moments of pain, you begin to search for meaning. You start to see that life isn't about controlling every outcome. It's about learning how to respond when things don't go your way. Gratitude becomes the anchor that keeps you steady when the storm comes. It's easy to say, be grateful when life is good. But true gratitude is forged in the fire of adversity. It's born when you look at the broken pieces and realize that even in the wreckage, there is something to hold on to. Even if it's just the strength to take one more breath, one more step. Gratitude isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about recognizing that even when life feels impossible, there is still something left to be thankful for. And when you start to see that, you begin to reclaim your power. It's so easy to focus on what's missing. The mind seems wired to notice the gaps, the empty spaces where things should be. You catch yourself thinking about the job you didn't get, the relationship that didn't work out, the opportunities that passed you by. It's almost automatic. The mind fixates on the absence of what you want rather than the presence of what you have. And over time, that mindset creates a feeling of lack, a quiet, constant dissatisfaction with life. But the truth is, no matter how much you wish things were different, there is always something to be grateful for. You just have to train your mind to see it. Gratitude isn't about settling. It's not about ignoring your goals or pretending that you don't want more from life. It's about recognizing that even while you're working toward more, you already have enough. There's a difference between striving from a place of wholeness and striving from a place of emptiness. When you focus on what's missing, you operate from lack. But when you focus on what you already have, you operate from strength. Gratitude shifts you from desperation to empowerment. It's not about giving up. It's about grounding yourself in the present so you can move forward with clarity and strength. It's human nature to want more. More success, more security, more happiness. But when you're always focused on what's next, you miss what's now. You overlook the small, beautiful details that make life meaningful. The warmth of the sun on your face, the sound of a friend's laughter, the quiet peace of a morning walk. These moments are easy to dismiss because they don't feel like milestones, but they're the foundation of a fulfilling life. When you learn to appreciate what's already in front of you, you stop chasing happiness and start experiencing it. Think about the last time you felt truly content. It probably wasn't after you hit a big goal or achieved something extraordinary. It was likely in a simple moment, a conversation with someone you love, a quiet evening when everything just felt right, a moment when you weren't trying to be anywhere else but exactly where you were. That's gratitude in its purest form. It's not attached to accomplishment, it's rooted in presence. And the more you practice it, the more you realize that you don't need to have everything figured out to feel whole. You don't need to have it all to feel like you have enough. The problem is that society conditions us to believe that happiness is always one step away. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be grateful when I find the right person. I'll feel whole when I'm financially secure. But life doesn't work that way. Every time you reach a goal, the mind immediately sets a new one. You get the job, and now you want a higher salary. You find the relationship, and now you want it to be more exciting. The finish line keeps moving. That's why gratitude matters. It's not about achieving more, it's about learning to feel full right now in this moment. There's a story about a man who spent years climbing the corporate ladder, believing that success would bring him happiness. He worked long hours, sacrificed relationship, and eventually reached the top. But when he got there, he realized he felt emptier than ever. He had gained everything he thought he wanted, but lost sight of the things that actually mattered. The quiet evenings with family, the friendships he had neglected, the small pleasures of everyday life. Those were the things that would have filled him up. But he was so focused on chasing more that he forgot to appreciate what was already there. That's what happens when you focus on what's missing. You lose sight of what's present. Gratitude is the antidote to that emptiness. It's the practice of consciously turning your attention toward what's already good. It's not about ignoring your problems, it's about shifting your focus. Instead of dwelling on what you lack, you begin to notice what's working. You begin to see the ways life is supporting you. And the more you focus on that, the more it grows. Gratitude creates a sense of abundance, even when life feels incomplete. You start to feel like you have enough because you've trained your mind to see what's already there. And here's the thing, Gratitude is not a feeling, it's a practice. It's not something that happens to you, it's something you choose. Every day you have a choice: focus on what's missing or focus on what's present. And that choice determines how you experience life. When you focus on what's missing, you feel frustrated, anxious, and empty. But when you focus on what's present, you feel grounded, empowered, and whole. The circumstances may not change overnight, but the way you experience them will. That's the power of gratitude. It doesn't require a perfect life, it simply requires a shift in focus. Gratitude is easy when life is going well, when you have enough money in the bank, when your relationships are thriving, when your health is strong. It's easy to feel thankful. But what happens when life knocks you down? What happens when you face uncertainty, loss, or disappointment? That's when gratitude becomes more than just a positive feeling. It becomes a tool for resilience. It becomes a way to steady yourself when life feels unstable. Because gratitude isn't just about feeling good, it's about finding strength even when things aren't going your way. It's easy to let setbacks make you bitter. When life feels unfair, the natural reaction is to dwell on the injustice of it. Why me? Why is this happening? Why does it feel like everyone else has it easier? That's the default setting of the mind. It's easy to spiral into resentment when things don't go as planned. But bitterness doesn't solve the problem. It only makes it heavier. Gratitude, on the other hand, creates a path forward. It shifts your focus from what's broken to what's still working. It allows you to see the small wins, even in the middle of a setback. And that shift in focus gives you the strength to keep going. There's a reason why some people bounce back from adversity while others stay stuck. It's not because life is easier for them, it's because of how they choose to frame their experiences. Two people can go through the exact same loss and come out completely different. One might become angry and closed off, believing that life is against them. The other might feel the same pain, but eventually choose to focus on what they've gained instead of what they've lost. That second person doesn't deny the pain, but they refuse to let it define them. That's the power of gratitude. It allows you to feel the pain without becoming it. Life is unpredictable. You don't get to control everything that happens. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. There will be seasons of loss and uncertainty. But within that chaos, there will also be reasons to be thankful. A kind word from a friend, a quiet morning with a cup of coffee, a moment of clarity when you realize you're stronger than you thought. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, it gives you a reason to keep going despite it. It reminds you that even when life is hard, there is still good to be found. You just have to be willing to look for it. There's a story about a woman who lost everything in a fire, her home, her possessions, even her sense of security. In the days after the fire, she felt completely lost. But instead of focusing on everything she had lost, she started focusing on what remained. She still had her family, she still had her health, she still had the support of her friends. In the middle of that devastation, she began to see how much she still had. And that shift in focus gave her the strength to rebuild. The loss didn't magically disappear, but gratitude allowed her to face it with courage rather than despair. That's what gratitude does. It doesn't change the facts, it changes how you respond to them. When you're going through something hard, the mind naturally focuses on what's missing. But what if, instead, you started asking yourself, what's still here? What's still working in your life? What's still holding you up? That question doesn't erase the difficulty, it reframes it. It reminds you that even when life feels hard, you are not empty. You still have inner resources, you still have strength, you still have reasons to hope. Gratitude doesn't minimize the pain. It reminds you that the pain is not the whole story. Think about the hardest thing you've ever been through. Maybe it was a breakup. Maybe it was losing someone you love. Maybe it was a time when you felt completely lost and unsure of what to do next. In those moments, gratitude probably felt impossible, but looking back, you can likely see something you gained from that experience. Maybe it made you stronger. Maybe it taught you how to set boundaries. Maybe it showed you the people who were truly in your corner. That's what gratitude does. It gives you perspective. It allows you to see the value even in the things you wish had never happened. And that perspective is what allows you to move forward. Gratitude isn't about pretending life is perfect. It's about recognizing that even when life is messy and complicated, there is still something to hold on to. It's about choosing to focus on the light rather than the darkness. When you practice gratitude, you stop seeing yourself as a victim of your circumstances. You stop believing that life is happening to you and start realizing that life is happening through you. Gratitude shifts you from passivity to power. It allows you to stand in the middle of the storm and still find reasons to smile. The truth is, you can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits, but gratitude gives you the strength to stand your ground. It reminds you that even when life feels impossible, you are not powerless. Even when you're walking through uncertainty, you are not alone. Gratitude isn't about ignoring the struggle. It's about recognizing that you have the strength to rise above it. When life is hard, the mind naturally drifts toward what's lacking. It focuses on what's missing, what's unfair, and what hasn't worked out. It's easy to fall into that cycle, to dwell on everything that's wrong and forget about what's still right. But gratitude requires you to shift that focus. It's not about denying that life is hard, it's about learning to see the good even in the middle of the struggle. And one of the most powerful ways to cultivate that shift is by training your mind to recognize and appreciate the small, often overlooked blessings that exist around you every day. The mind tends to chase big wins. It wants the grand achievements, the life-changing moments, the extraordinary breakthroughs. And when those things don't happen, it feels like nothing is working. But life isn't built on monumental victories. It's built on small, consistent moments of gratitude. A beautiful sunset, a conversation with a friend, a moment of stillness after a long day. These moments seem small, but they are the foundation of a meaningful life. When you learn to notice them, to truly see them, you shift from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance. Think about how easy it is to overlook those moments. You wake up, rush through your morning, and get caught up in the stress of the day. You focus on the traffic, the deadlines, the setbacks, and in doing that, you miss the small gifts that are present even in the chaos. The warmth of the sunlight coming through your window, the sound of laughter in the background, the simple fact that you are breathing, alive and capable of facing another day. When you start to slow down and pay attention to those small details, something shifts. Gratitude begins to take root, not because your life suddenly becomes easier, but because you've trained your mind to see the good that was already there. It's easy to dismiss small moments as insignificant. After all, how can appreciating a cup of coffee or a quiet evening really change anything? But the truth is, small moments have the power to recalibrate your entire outlook. When you begin to recognize the good in small things, you create a mental habit of gratitude, and that habit shapes how you respond to bigger challenges. Instead of automatically focusing on what's wrong, your mind learns to search for what's still right. That shift gives you strength. It gives you resilience. It helps you to face life's setbacks without losing your sense of balance. There's a story about a man who was going through a difficult time. He had lost his job, His relationship was falling apart, and he felt like life was unraveling. One day, a friend suggested that he try writing down 3 things he was grateful for every night before going to bed. At first he resisted. He thought it was pointless. How could writing down something as simple as "I'm grateful for my health" or "I'm grateful for my dog" possibly make a difference when his life was falling apart? But he tried it anyway, and something interesting happened. After a few weeks, he noticed that his mindset had shifted. He still had problems. His job situation hadn't magically improved, and his relationship was still complicated. But his ability to face those challenges changed. He started to see the good in his life, even in the middle of the hard stuff. Gratitude didn't change his circumstances. It changed his ability to face them. Small wins matter. They create momentum. When you learn to notice and celebrate the small victories, you begin to realize that you're not stuck. You're moving forward, even if it's one small step at a time. Maybe it's the fact that you showed up today, even when you didn't feel like it. Maybe it's the fact that you chose to have a hard conversation instead of avoiding it. Maybe it's simply the fact that you didn't give up when it would have been easier to walk away. Those small wins add up. They create confidence, and when you learn to appreciate them, you stop feeling like you're falling behind. You start realizing that you're already making progress. Gratitude is about training your mind to focus on the good, and the more you do that, the more resilient you become. Life will always have ups and downs. There will always be hard days, but when you've built the habit of recognizing the small blessings, the quiet moments, the unexpected acts of kindness, the simple fact that you're still standing, you give yourself the strength to handle whatever comes next. Gratitude creates emotional stability. It keeps you grounded when life feels chaotic. It reminds you that even when things aren't perfect, you are still whole. The truth is, life will never be perfectly balanced. There will always be unfinished work. There will always be unanswered questions. But in the middle of that uncertainty, you can still find reasons to be thankful. You can still find beauty in the chaos. And when you train your mind to look for those small moments of gratitude, you discover that you are more capable, more grounded, and more resilient than you ever realized. Life has a way of making us feel like we need to have everything figured out before we can feel at peace. We tell ourselves that once we reach a certain milestone, once we solve a certain problem, or once things finally calm down, then we'll be able to relax and feel grateful. But life doesn't work like that. It's messy, unpredictable, and constantly changing. And if you're waiting for everything to be perfect before you allow yourself to feel grateful, you'll be waiting forever. Gratitude isn't about having all the answers. It's about finding peace even when you don't. It's about learning to hold space for uncertainty while still recognizing the good that's present in your life right now. There's a kind of power that comes with accepting what you can't control. When you stop fighting reality and learn to embrace it, you create mental clarity. You stop wasting energy trying to control things that were never yours to control in the first place. That doesn't mean you give up or stop trying. It means you shift your focus to what you can influence, and that shift opens the door for gratitude. When you're not consumed by frustration over things you can't fix, you start to see the gifts hidden in the chaos, the strength you've built through hardship, the friendships that have deepened through shared struggle, the lessons you've learned from failure. Gratitude isn't about pretending that life isn't hard. It's about recognizing that even in the middle of the storm, there's still something to be thankful for. There's a story about a woman who had been through one challenge after another. She lost her job, her health was declining, and her personal life was unraveling. She felt like everything was slipping out of her control. One day, an older friend told her something that stuck with her. You don't have to understand the why to appreciate the what. At first, she didn't get it. How could she be grateful when nothing was going the way she wanted? But over time, she started to see what her friend meant. Even though she didn't understand why her life had taken such a difficult turn, there were still moments of goodness. The friend who checked in on her, the quiet comfort of a sunset, the way her body was still holding on, even though it was tired. She realized that gratitude wasn't about figuring everything out. It was about making peace with the fact that she might never have all the answers and finding beauty in the pieces she still had. That's the shift that changes everything. When you stop needing life to make perfect sense, you free yourself from the weight of expectation. You stop needing to know how it's all going to work out, and you start focusing on what's working right now. Maybe your career isn't where you thought it would be, but you've gained skills and resilience that you didn't have before. Maybe a relationship didn't last, but you've learned how to stand on your own 2 feet. Maybe life has thrown you curveballs you didn't see coming, but you've discovered strength you didn't know you had. Gratitude is about seeing the value in those moments, even when they don't fit the story you thought you were writing. It's easy to get stuck in the mindset of waiting for clarity, waiting for things to improve, waiting for the breakthrough that will finally make sense of it all. But life doesn't give you that kind of closure. It's messy and non-linear. Sometimes things don't work out the way you hoped. Sometimes the answer never comes. But even in that uncertainty, you can still choose gratitude. You can still recognize the good that's present in your life, even when the outcome isn't clear. Gratitude isn't about having everything figured out. It's about being able to say, I don't know how this ends, but I'm thankful for the strength that's carrying me through it. It takes courage to live with uncertainty. It takes strength to keep going when you don't have all the answers. But gratitude gives you a foundation to stand on. It reminds you that even though you might not have control over everything, you do have control over how you respond. You can choose to focus on what's missing, or you can choose to focus on what's still there. You can get caught up in the chaos, or you can ground yourself in the small moments of peace and joy that exist even in the middle of the storm. Gratitude creates resilience. When you stop demanding that life make sense and instead focus on the strength you've built through the hard times, you become unshakable. You stop tying your sense of peace to the outcome and start finding it in the process. That's what gratitude gives you. Not a perfect life, but the ability to handle life's imperfections with grace and strength. And when you master that, you become unstoppable. Gratitude won't make life easy, but it will make you strong enough to face life as it is. And that strength is what will carry you through.